Here's a nice math test practice site. So if you're studying for GCSE mathematics in UK standards, this is the standard assessment test for GCSE standard math. Here it actually says 10th grade, which I believe is GCSE in UK standards. So if you go to www.majortest.com/sat/math-skills.php, this will take you to the website itself. There's a lot of information there, not just math. You can also practice SATs writing, that's English essays, grammar, and all sorts, including vocabulary and SAT word lists. So you can try all these various different sections, and you'll basically learn what's expected of you at GCSE level. It is basically a structured form and an online test as opposed to a exam paper based test, so you are expected to work at speed on these questions. So let's get started. I'm just going to cover the math side of it. I'm not too concerned about the writing English essays and the grammar. So let's just start on the math side. There's two sections: SAT math test, problem solving, and student produced response questions, grids in questions. So basically the problem solving consists of multiple choice questions which has 5 answer choices, and you choose A, B, C, D or E. A, B, C, D or E. Yeah. And student produced response questions, grids in. This is where you actually physically enter in a value as opposed to choosing from A, B, C, D or E. So you read the question, then you have an edit box underneath whereby you put your actual answer in using your keyboard on the computer. So let's get started. Even though these sections are split into various different problem sections, you will realize one thing is, on the first attempt it is quite difficult to match and get all the answers into these questions. Whether you're trying the problem solving or the student produced response questions, you will realize that you will most likely run out of time. It has happened to me once or twice as well. So I'm just telling you that don't worry about the fact that you'll run out of time. It's a good practice nevertheless. So I've selected 2 tests basically. If you go into the problem solving test, then here you've got 12 tests there. Problem solving practice test 1 to 12. Just select whichever one you want. And on the grids in practice test, we have again grids in practice test 1 to 12. Select whichever you want. I'm going to take you through the practice test 1 for both grids in and the problem solving. So let's look at the problem solving practice test 1. SATs problem solving practice test 1. Number 1, first of all, before we start, let's look at what we've got on the right hand side of the in this middle section. On the left hand side we've got navigation as usual. In the middle section we've got our questions, the problem solving questions with multiple choices A, B, C, D, E and E. We read the question, select one of the answers and move on further down. Answer as many questions as you can, then submit the answer. However, you could run out of time. Again, on the right hand side we have test information which says 10 questions, 12 minutes in total on all these 10 questions. This is just one of many free SAT problem solving tests available on majortest.com. See the SAT problem solving page for directions, tips and more information. Don't worry too much about the time. It is quite good in that once you complete the test, if you don't understand any of the questions, it actually shows you the answers. So let's just go through some of these questions very quickly. Again, it's more intuitive to answer these style of questions than it is to actually physically work them out on a piece of paper, pen and piece of paper. So of the following, which is greater? Half. Again, 2/5, 4/7, 4/9, 5/11, 6/13. We have 4/7. Okay, if an object travels at 5 feet per second, how many feet does it travel in 1 hour? We have 18,000, I believe. what is the average arithmetic mean of all the multiples of 10 from 10 to 190 inclusive? I believe 100. Cubical block of metal weighs 6 pounds. How much will another cube of the same metal weigh if its sides are twice as long? Okay, that would be 48. In a class of 38 students, 41 are taking French, 22 are taking German. Of the students taking French or German, 9 are taking both courses. How many students are not enrolled in either course? Right, we have 24. I have worked some of these solutions out before, but I'm not working them out quite now at the moment. You will realize that you are going to run out of time. Therefore, it's essential that you practice these questions quite a lot more. Let's just go through these very quickly. Okay, number 7. Okay, let's have a look. I might have got some of these wrong, but let's just try and see how we do. Figure above. This question, such as number 10, is very difficult. In fact, this is where your A-star ability seems to shine. But within the 12 minutes, it is quite difficult to answer this without physically working it out. 9 out of 10, I believe most people would guess something like this. But if you're going to work it out, you have to extend the original triangle to work this particular question out. It does take quite a bit of effort that it actually seems to show here on this practice test. So let's just submit this. Basically, well, got correct answers there, but as you can see, it shows you what the correct answer is for each one of these practice tests here, and in fact you had explanation of the answer as well, why the answer is this particular answer. They seem to have removed that, I believe. Do another self-problem test, try a different section, share this test, tweet your score. Basically, they used to have explanations on the side per each question, and they explain how each of these questions were meant to be solved, how they're meant to be calculated. Those explanations have been withdrawn for some reason. I do not know why they've done that, but again, it's up to them. So let's that's the problem solving test, whereby you're actually choosing A, B, C or D or E. So that's basically the multiple choice questions. Let's go into the grids in questions. Again, with the grids in questions here, we have the navigation questions in the middle, and we've got 10 questions, 12 minutes to answer them. Again, you're most likely to run out of time because you're physically answering these questions as opposed to choosing one from the test set. So let's answer these questions very quickly, put these answers in, and what you'll realize is for questions like if S is the sum of 8, 6, 4, 2 and X, what must be the value of X for X to equal 1/5 of S? So what we have is basically a simultaneous style an equation whereby we substitute the value of X for S. Here S is equal to 10 plus 10 is 20, 20 plus X. S equals 20 plus X. We have X equal to 1/5 S, so 5X equals S, and we substitute 5X for S in the first equation, where we've got S equals 20 plus X, so 5X minus X equals 20, and 4x equals 20, so x equals 5. That's basically what we have for number 3 there. Okay, and we have 1000. I believe you're more likely to be I believe you're allowed to use a calculator for these, but some of them you should be able to work them out pretty efficiently in your head. So let's go through these. 61, 45-degree angle. 8 would be 2550, 5 3. Let's submit, right? Okay, they're the solutions, they're the answers, correct answers. There's my solutions and the results, whether you're correct or incorrect. The explanation isn't there now. As I said once before, the explanation did used to exist. They seem to have, for some reason, removed the explanation for each of the solutions. Whether you get them all correct or incorrect is another issue. Let's try answering one of these questions incorrectly in the same test. So if I were to answer, say, something silly on all these questions, how will it fare? Let's have a look. I believe they would explain the solutions. I've answered all of them incorrectly. There we go. Now you can see when you answer all of them incorrectly, you've actually got the opportunity to have a look at the explanation to your solution. And there we have a more in-depth workaround to the solution for each individual questions. So we can go back. That has just pressed back on my browser to go back to the explanation for the next question. Again, go back, and let's have a look at number 3 again. There we go. If x is 1/5 of the sum, 1/5 s, then 8 plus 6 plus 4 plus 2 equals 4/5 of the sum. So 20 equals 4/5 of s, and 20 over 4 is 1/5 of s, which equals 5. I've done it. I did it slightly differently. So the way I actually envisaged that, I just explain it to you. If I can get the notepad up and running. There we go. What I basically said was, let's have a look. S equals the sum of this 8, 6, 4 and 2 is 20 plus x and x, and we know that x equals 1/5 of x. X equals 1/5 of s. So that's what we need to substitute. Get the value of x. This implies that 5x equals s, and what we have is, now we have 5x, we can put that into our first equation, which is 5x equals 20 plus x, and then 5x minus x, take x away from both sides, equals 20, and 4x equals 20. So we have x equals 20 divided by 4. This implies x equals 5. It's pretty straightforward. It's basic algebra, but the solutions are mildly different. They've actually worked it out in terms of ratio as opposed to this, but in effect it is the same, because you're actually 4/5 is the ratio that you have anyway as the rest of the sum. 1/5 is the x value, so the other end of the x is 4/5. and the ratio. They've used the ratio principle to work the S out. But in effect, you would use algebra, which is what you're meant to be taught and you should have been learning. However, you can use the ratio to work these out. So let's I'll leave you to these practice tests so you can practice them yourself. You can have a look at solutions and everything on this website. Please click like if you do like this video, and hope this is helpful for you. You can also try the SATs essays or the English grammar tests and stuff, where you actually correcting identifying sentence errors. So try them yourself and have a go at it yourself. Just click like if you do like these videos. Thanks.